Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are jumping into a fascinating paradox, really. It's drawn from our sources on the life of the Apostle Paul. And the core question we're trying to unpack is this. How do you receive the highest possible spiritual glory? I mean, a moment of absolute breathtaking honor without letting that just completely inflate your ego.
And destroy you in the process.
Exactly, to the point of self-destruction.
It's a powerful framing. So our mission for you, the learner, is to synthesize a concept that our sources title A Secret and a Thorn.
A secret and a thorn.
Right. And this framework, it comes directly from Paul's words in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. We're looking at how this profound, almost unbelievable spiritual revelation was intentionally paired with continuous, just grinding physical suffering.
Wow.
And this gives us a kind of blueprint for how to accept great honor, but maintain genuine humility and a lifelong commitment.
The detail that gets me here is the timing. His experience was so intense, so overwhelming, that he kept it completely silent for 14 years.
14 years, it's incredible.
Yeah. Just think about that. The self-control for a decade and a half of total silence about the single most important moment of his life. So what did he see? And why was this constant suffering, this famous thorn in the flesh, why was that a necessary counterbalance?
Well, let's start right there with the secret revelation itself. In the text, Paul uses this literary device of referring to himself in the third person. He says, I knew a man in Christ.
Right, he's distancing himself from it a bit.
He is. And he says this happened 14 years before he wrote the letter, and that this man was taken up to the third heaven.
Okay, stop there for a second. The third heaven. What does that actually mean in this context? Because it sounds incredibly specific.
It is very specific, and the sources help clarify this theological geography.
Yeah.
So in the cosmology of the time, the first heaven was the atmosphere, where the birds fly. The second heaven was the celestial sphere, the stars, the planets. So the third heaven is the dwelling place of God himself. It's often used as a synonym for paradise, which he actually mentions a moment later.
So this wasn't just a dream or some deep thought. He's claiming he was actually transported, physically or spiritually, into the divine presence.
Exactly. And once he was there, the experience wasn't just visual. He heard something. He describes them as inexpressible words.
Inexpressible words.
Yeah. Our sources really emphasize that this wasn't just, some vague feeling of encouragement. He heard sacred secrets that humans are fundamentally not permitted to speak.
Wow. So information that's just too pure, too powerful for us.
That's the idea. Words reserved only for God and the angels. To try and translate them into human language would risk just massive spiritual misinterpretation.
And this is where the human side of it becomes so critical. Because most people, if they received even a hint of something like that, they would immediately exploit it.
Oh, absolutely.
They'd make it their whole identity. They'd build a career on saying, I've seen behind the curtain. But Paul, 14 years of silence.
He was hyper-aware of the danger of self-aggrandizement. The second he started boasting about that unique privilege, the divine gift would become a source of personal pride.
So his silence was all about making sure God got the glory, not him.
Precisely. He wanted his actions, his work, the facts of his ministry to speak for themselves. He didn't want to lean on this sensational private vision. It's an act of profound spiritual risk management, really.
If he was managing risk, what was he protecting himself from?
From the inevitable corrosion of pride. And that's why the glorious secret is immediately followed by the painful reality of the thorn. This glimpse into paradise presented such a high risk of arrogance that a powerful, constant counterbalance was required.
Let's move to that counterbalance then. The thorn in the flesh. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was this ongoing struggle he had at the same time he was holding this incredible secret.
Not temporary at all. It was relentless. And this is where we really have to address the paradox of suffering head on. Because if you look at ancient interpretations of suffering, especially from Paul's detractors or, figures like Job's comforters from the Old Testament, the default assumption was always physical suffering equals divine punishment.
So the common thinking would have been, Paul, you're suffering. You must have done something wrong.
Precisely. You must have messed up your ministry. But the sources present this radical counterargument. The suffering was, in fact, a gift from God.
A gift? That just completely reframes it.
It does. It wasn't punishment for a failure. It was protection against a potential future failure, the failure of pride. If his friends asked why he was in constant pain, his answer, according to the source's implication, would have been something like, I have this thorn because I have been to heaven.
Wow, so the pain wasn't just something to be tolerated, it was a required part of his mission.
A proactive measure. The sources state this explicitly, that the glory, the secret, and the thorn were positively correlated.
Two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. Two sides of the same divine design. Think of the thorn as, like, the ballast on a sailing ship. The glory of the vision, his status as an apostle, that's the massive sail catching the wind.
Okay, I see.
But without that heavy ballast, that constant reminder of his own weakness, the sail would catch the wind and just instantly capsize the whole ship. The thorn kept him stable. It forced him to rely on grace, not on his own extraordinary status.
So what was the thorn, practically speaking? Do the sources give us any clue? Was it bad eyesight, some illness, or maybe a person who was always opposing him?
You know, the beauty of the text is that it stays ambiguous, which lets the lesson apply to everyone. Whether it was a physical ailment or relentless opposition or even some intense spiritual struggle, its purpose was singular, to serve as a necessary reminder.
A reminder.
A reminder to prevent him from believing he was superior or, somehow completely different from others, just because he had this unparalleled vision. The thorn was the mechanism to maintain humility in the face of maximum honor.
That is a staggering insight into divine design, that the highest honor requires an immediate physical check. And we have to apply that to our own lives. We're nearing the end of 2025, and you, the listener, you're probably reflecting on your own recorded achievements. We're talking about career milestones, awards, big projects you've pulled off.
And the threat is exactly the same, whether the honor is from heaven or from the boardroom. The risk is pride. Paul kept himself stable by grounding himself in just radical self-awareness.
He called himself the chief of sinners.
The chief of sinners, exactly, the man who had persecuted the church. That wasn't some false humility. It was an honest recognition that his ability to keep serving was only because of opportunity and grace, not because he was inherently better than anyone else.
And that kind of self-awareness must change how you view a long commitment. If you believe your service is a gift, you see the duration of your work differently.
Absolutely. The sources use this powerful example of Pastor Stephen Tong. He started preaching at 17. At age 80, during a gathering in Taiwan in 2019, he was reflecting on his life. And he's still preaching today at 86. That's, 70 years of service, roughly?
Incredible.
That kind of continuous commitment that's not achieved by someone who thinks they're self-made or somehow above the people they serve.
And when we look at that kind of endurance, it brings up the crucial question the source poses for us. What is driving your service? For you, the listener, are you committed to your professional calling just for a salary, just to support your family and use your skills? Or is there something deeper, an unwavering commitment that goes beyond those rewards?
That distinction is vital. Because if the purpose is only the salary or the career metrics, the moment those things fail, the service ends. Paul's self-awareness made sure his motivation was external to himself.
And this leads right into the challenge of sustained effort and the danger of just chasing numbers. The source speaker, who we know is the pastor, he mentions his own tenure, 35 years at the same church, and continuously producing media like this program since July of 2022. That's a lot of output.
It is. And that kind of longevity introduces a critical warning for all of us, especially if we're in fields driven by metrics. You cannot allow the sheer volume of output, the data, the numbers, or even just the duration itself to become the goal.
Right.
God grants talent and vision for a purpose. And to neglect that or refuse to use those gifts for dedicated service, that's framed as the ultimate regret. Once the numbers become the goal, the purpose is lost.
This challenge is even more acute when you think about how long we're living now. The sources note that human longevity is increasing, even mentioning world-class healthcare systems like the one in Taiwan that help people live longer, healthier lives.
And that extended time, it presents a profound choice. As you get older, is that extra decade or two meant only for enjoying yourself, for global travel and gourmet food? Or does it represent an opportunity to fulfill the trust placed in you, to truly glorify the purpose you were given?
The missed opportunity.
Source argues that to live a long life but lose sight of service and commitment is to miss the greatest opportunity that longevity provides.
So if we bring this back to Paul, he used his unique opportunity, hearing those inexpressible words, understanding the gospel not as like a retirement package,
Not at all.
but as a mandate for service. A mandate which required him to accept the pain that came with it.
Exactly. The commitment he made was total. He knew the cost of the glory was the thorn, and he accepted both. So the response to understanding this profound truth, this gospel opportunity, isn't to hesitate or wait for perfect conditions. It's to move forward bravely and commit completely to the role of a faithful servant.
So the concluding call to action here is really about that perseverance. It's about a final definitive commitment, the I am here, send me. And that commitment has to endure regardless of future trials or deep suffering or even just being exhausted. It's accepting the burden of that important perseverance, knowing that the ballast, the thorn, is required to keep the sail of glory upright.
And this raises, I think, an important final question for you, the listener, to really think about. If the greatest glory, Paul, seeing heaven, required the deepest suffering, the thorn to maintain essential humility, what everyday achievement or recognized honor in your professional or personal life is currently lacking a necessary thorn, a counterbalance, to ensure you maintain the proper perspective? And what happens to the ship of your achievement if that necessary balance is lost?